Good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Thank you so much for being here. Look at all these wonderful faces. Some of these people we just saw half an hour ago, some we saw last week, some we've seen maybe a month ago, some we may be seeing for the first time. Guys, thank you so much for being in this room. We've got a very, very, very special masterclass. I'm so excited about today. Really was looking forward to it, and I'm sure even before we finish, you're going to like it so much that you're going to want this special guest to come back again. So if we're going to send him the love, all right, let's just send him some love, guys. Let's put some, we haven't met him yet, but you're going to meet him in a minute. Let's put all the love, let's get all the emojis coming up here. Let's send our guests some love, because I'm sure that when you get to meet this wonderful gentleman, that you're going to love who he is, what he stands for, what his message is, and understand why he's made such a big impact today. We just finished off a masterclass, a high-performance coaching. Some of you were in that just recently this morning. And it was an influence and persuasion. And we talk about the influence is the art of being able to help people make better decisions, influence their actions, their behaviors, their thoughts. And this man over the last 22 years at least, if not more, has influenced his whole industry. So it's a real pleasure to have him here. But before we bring him down, I'm going to spend a bit of time edifying you here, Lawrence. This is what I do. I love edification. Right. Before we do, welcome, guys. Great to have you all in the room. Let's just see, because we got people from all over the place here. Let's have a look. I like to put my effect on. Just put in the chat, guys, where are you coming in from the world today? So who have we got in the world? Let's have a look. Let's fire up the world. Who have we got here today? Where are they coming in from? You're here from all over the place to see Lawrence. So we got the States, we've got South Africa, we got Mexico's in the house. Look, the whole world is here, Lawrence, just for you. We got people from all over the world, all right? Indonesia, Geelong, Vancouver, Canada. We got Mexico, Mozambique, New York, Queensland, USA, Maryland, Slovakia, Florida. So we got people from all over the world coming in for a special masterclass. I want to thank you again. It's great to see the impact that we're making with the community, and great to see all these wonderful faces again in this room. I can see Georgia, you're up behind me. Great to have you back in the room. I saw you dancing. Excited to have you back in the room. Everyone's in this room. I can mention all the faces that have just been in our recent trainings, and you're in this room for today. Well, today's a special masterclass. Today, I'm going to have the pleasure of introducing this gentleman. It's a masterclass, building a global coaching business, therapy business, a healing business in today's world. It's a real pleasure to be able to have this conversation. It's going to be more of a conversation. When I chatted to Lawrence, we said, hey, let's get you to come along to speak to our community. What are we going to talk about? And he said, you know what? We can just riff it. We can just have a discussion, right? He loves riffing it, right? So we're going to have a discussion from his experience. He's been in his field for, 3 decades. I mean, I met him many, many years back before he actually formulated the IICT. He was setting up, wanting to put together an institute for the Reiki network in Australia, because he's quite spiritual, he works energetically, and he was the first to create an association in Australia for people who do Reiki energetic work. And that then just, transmuted, hey, Lawrence, into the IICT. And so this masterclass, guys, is part of our community. It's part of our graduate group. You guys have done some training with us, and it's our commitment to come to you on a regular basis every month, where we bring people from the community to share with you their experience, their tools, their techniques, the ability for you to be able to become better at what you do. Our vision for you is to become BIW at what you do. Best in the world, as Robin Sharma says. Best in the world as a coach, as a therapist and healer, because I don't believe there's enough of us. And Lawrence will say the same thing. It's not enough of us doing the work that we do. 264 million people diagnosed with clinical depression. There's not enough of us doing the work that we do to actually help those people. Too many people today, you see online, they're promoting how to create a 6-figure business. It's all about coaching and money and all the shining lights and funnels and everything else. And although that's important to run the business, it's not the reason why you exist, or why I exist, and why Lawrence exists, and why he put together IICT. At the core of what we do is making change, helping people make a difference. That's why we do what we do. And if you do that with that intention, as we've always been saying, doing it with the intention that you're there to make a difference, then you're going to never want for anything. You're always going to have everything that you want. And you're going to be creating a ripple effect worldwide with what it is that you do. You know, we're heart-centered people doing the work that most people don't want to do. You know, if you're in this room because you want to create a 4-hour week, you want to create an online course and sit on the beach and just do nothing else, and probably it's not the right room for you. You're here because you want to work with people. You're here because you want to make a difference. You're here because there's not enough of us doing what we do. We're here to become extraordinary. So you know this, our masterclasses are this. The ordinary get paid to do the work. The extraordinary get paid to master the craft. You're in this room because you want to master their craft. Is that fair, guys? Just type yes if you want to master your craft. Type yes if you want to become best in the world. Type yes. Let's see, we've got lots of yeses coming up. Yes, 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 yes. Awesome. Well, before I introduce this person, let me ask you here. Let me get myself ready as I do this. Let me ask you. Oh, all these buttons I have to press here. This is a one-man band. I feel like this, you know, these people have got all this machinery and they play all the instruments at once, like you walk down the street. Who's the singer of Coldplay? What's the singer's name? I remember he was in Newtown here in Australia and he was walking down the street one day just playing ad-lib, Newtown, and he had all the machinery around him, his harmonica, everything else, and he was just playing, Chris Martin, and he was just playing everything. It was just, that's what I feel like here. I feel like the one-man band pressing all the buttons, attempting to get everything to work. But of course, that's what we do, right? So what I want to do, I want to ask all of you, okay, guys? I want to ask all of you. We're here, you're here doing what you do. Because it's also going to give us context. I'm going to give Lawrence, I'm going to introduce in a second, context of why you're in this room. Let's just type in the chat, why are you in this room? There's 1 or 2 words that describes why you're in this room. Why have you chosen to become a therapist, a coach and healer? Just type in the chat. Let's see, why are you in this room? Why have you chosen to come down this field? Let's see what you say. Let's hear the keyboard. Come on, guys. We want to hear some keyboards going. Evolution. What else? Let's put all these words up. To find opportunity to help others, to help people to heal, to create change. What else? Share my journey, healing, impact and growth, soul growth, calling, help self and others, support the global evolution, right? Facilitate change, to inspire. So this is your intention, guys, to fulfill your purpose, to transform. So this is the intention that we're bringing in this room. It's also going to give Lawrence context on what he's going to be talking about, because he's here to help you to fulfill all this. He's here to share his experience over the 30 years of being in this field, himself being a therapist, a coach, a healer, and then creating IICT to actually do this work. So thank you so much for sharing that, guys. And so let me get into introducing our special guest speaker. I have the pleasure of bringing this man down, Lawrence Ellyard, right? Now, yes, I've mentioned he is the founder, the CEO of the International Institute of Complementary Therapies, one of the largest associations looking after natural therapies, complementary medicine, coaching, healing here in Australia. And in fact, over 35, 38 countries worldwide, right? He's written 9 books. You'll see some of them today. He's a CEO of IICT. He's been everywhere. He's been on Forbes magazine. He's actually done work which is quite amazing with Dr. Emoto. Who knows Dr. Emoto? We've talked about him in our training, right? Messages from Water. He's done training with him. In fact, there's a wonderful quote from Dr. Emoto about Lawrence. Lawrence Ellyard is one of the first of my students that has caught onto the desire to train people who would spread the truth about the real form of water and the spirit that is hidden within it. To have that from Dr. Emoto, one of his first students, to share that message. Our thoughts affect our frequency and vibration. A vibration is how we show up. How we show up is what we attract in our life. We've got in life based on our vibration, based on our thoughts. And water plays a big part there. He's also done work with The Dalai Lama. There's a quote there from the Dalai Lama. I just got these off your website, Lawrence, and just put them on a slide here. Right? A quote from working with Dalai Lama with Brandon Bays, with Jack Canfield. So we talked about earlier this morning, we talked about influence and persuasion. It doesn't just happen that you wake up this morning and you have this impact. You have this impact because of the person you've become, your values, what you stand for, and why you do what you do. People don't get involved because of what you do. They get involved with you because of why you do it. And that's why the IICT and the way Lawrence has built that business. I mean, IICT itself, last year, 2024, was a finalist in with all over the world. Lawrence was 300 companies. It was a finalist on the place that people most wanted to work at.
Yep.
Place that people most wanted to work at. Was a finalist in that in those awards. He's written these books, many more. The Reiki Healer by Lawrence, The Spirit of Water, right? Everyday Buddha. You can find these on his website, and he's been in all these magazines. Forbes, Redefining Natural Therapy in Australia and Beyond, Bridging the Gap of Complementary Medicine of Therapy Practitioners Worldwide. So it's great to be able to have him in this room today, his knowledge, his experience. He's going to share some tools and tips, his story, tools and tips for you to, where does your thinking need to be? Where does your mindset need to be today to build a global business? Because when Lawrence and I started, I think I met him at a Mind Body Spirit Festival. I don't know when it was, like 20, 25 years ago, Mind Body Spirit Festival. And that's when he was developing the Reiki network. And the way we did business back then is completely different to how business is done today. But at the core, it's still the same heart message. It's how do we keep true to that message in a changing world? How do we keep true to that message in an economy which is demanding different things? Here is Lawrence again in the Success Magazine, a visionary in wellness and complementary therapies. IICT, International Institute of Complementary Therapies, committed to your growth as a therapist. And we'll talk about IICT later on because we've got something special for you. For those who are... Actually, let's just see in the chat, how many of you are new to this field and yet to actually register yourself with an association? So who here is still primed, ready to become part? We've got me. We've got quite a few people. Well, you're right in the right place because IICT itself, well, as you know, it's accredited in all these different countries, UK and Europe. And the list is growing. And if you're in a country that's not on that list yet, let's get hold of Lawrence and say, what do we need to do to get you there? Because we're building our momentum. We're building, if you're in this room learning stuff with us, we want to make sure what we have is accredited in your country. So we'll do whatever we can to be able to support that growth, right? Maureen, you're already a member. In South Africa, already a member, all right? Awesome. Okay, so guys, no further ado, let's bring down the person that we want to give him a huge applause, all right? So, Patricia, can you spotlight him because my spotlight is stuffed up? Let's bring Lawrence down. Give him a drum roll. Lawrence Ellyard. The crowd goes wild. Lawrence, welcome. Okay, stop it. So how do you like our setup, right? It's pretty cool, huh?
Pretty cool, yeah. I mean, I haven't had a welcome like that for quite some time, so that's very impressed. Thank you.
Well, Lawrence, you deserve it. As we said, you've been in this field a long, long time. And, in today's world, longevity is what matters. You see people come and go in this industry, especially over the last 5-10 years. The coaching industry is a way to make a quick buck. Right, and so are they connected with a calling to make a difference, or are they connected just to, and that's okay. It's okay to make a living for yourself, but what's the intention of being in this field? And 30 years, not only you as a practitioner, IICT, yeah, you deserve that applause. Thank you so much for being here.
Well, thanks for having me. It's great to connect, and yeah, it'd be really exciting to share some ideas today as well.
So really what we're going to do today, guys, we're just going to have a discussion with Lawrence. Like, don't have any other slides. All the slides are about him. Right? Don't have any slides. What we're going to have a chat is just have a discussion. You guys can ask some questions. see what comes up. But what Lawrence, what we wanted to talk about is talk about mindset, the mindset of the practitioner today, and the growth, the change over the years. And what are some of the things that you can focus on so you can really build a genuine, authentic business helping other people? What do you need to be aware of? Some of the things we're not aware of. Some of the things the beautiful thing that we see in this room, we've got people from all over the world doing this. And even though we have different cultures, even though we have different values and different beliefs, at the core, as humans, we have the same core needs. We all want to experience safety, security. We want to feel loved. We want to feel wanted. We want to feel successful, that we're good enough. So at the core, we have the same thing. The human narrative is the same. It's just experienced different ways within the cultures. So how can we share what we do to help people on that journey of the human narrative within that culture? Because that's what's going to separate you from someone who's just building a local business. Today, people are doing stuff online. And how do you protect yourself from doing stuff online? There's some important policies and procedures and best practices that most associations and most coaches really want to talk to just discard. But you want to make sure you've crossed the T's and dotted the I's. And so that's what that plan is today. So I might just put it over to Lawrence, and he might just share a bit about the Lawrence Ellyard story. There'll be a lot. We might have to get him to come back, the Lawrence Ellyard story. But then we can move into, the things which are important to you guys to be able to become BIW best in the world. Lawrence, over to you. Tell us, where do you want to start? How did you get into this industry?
Yeah, well, like as you mentioned, I was running a Reiki school, and I had my own private practice as a counselor and therapist. And what I always heard from people was that, if they were qualified in lots of different modalities, they had to join separate associations for each one. And of course, a lot of people are bootstrapping, and they're just trying to make ends meet, and particularly these days.
Mm.
And it's a very expensive exercise if you have to join several different associations. So a lot of people were like saying, "Oh, I wish someone would just, create a body that covered the whole wellness industry." And I was like, "Yeah, someone should do that." And then I was like, I could do that." And so that's how IICT was born. Like, so we had people approaching us wanting to get affiliation, get access to insurance for their practice. And we had more people coming to us than the modalities I was at the time. So it just made sense to broaden it out to the entire industry. And I don't know, if I had my time again, I probably would have done it differently. I've created a huge job for myself, and I'm very lucky these days to be surrounded by amazing people that are way smarter than me and way more skilled in the areas I'm not.
See, I love that philosophy. Notice what he just said, guys. He's grateful that he's surrounded himself with people that are smarter than him.
Mm.
And for me, that's the biggest thing I see a downside of the solo entrepreneur, the solo therapist. Lawrence, they think they can do it all. They think they know better themselves, and we don't put our hand up for help. But let's ask you, before IICT, how did you get into the field of energy work and therapy? Because, you weren't born a Reiki healer. Maybe we were, but you know what I mean? Right? What was the journey from out of the corporate world into this?
Yeah, well, look, I initially, thought I should get a real job, going out of high school and whatnot. So I studied as a graphic designer and art and design, and got into art direction, that sort of thing. And at the same time, even as a child, I had a real strong interest in spirituality and the things that are, experienced beyond what we normally experience through the five senses. So, and had an introduction to transcendental meditation when I was 11 or 12, I think it was. And so I had a experience in spirituality and something beyond the ordinary, even as a child. And my mum was also heavily interested in all that stuff as well. So that influenced me as I went along. And then when I got into eventually the advertising industry, I did that for a very short period of time and was just really disillusioned, because it was very much about creativity and your expression. But of course, then you were really confined to a box about how you should be delivering your ideas, and your creative stuff would often be, stripped down to something that wasn't the original idea. So I think for me, I learned fairly early on that I was definitely an entrepreneur and someone who didn't like getting orders from other people, and just wanting to express myself. So Yeah, I was in a spiritualist group at the time as well, so I was kind of living in two worlds, you could say. And yeah, I just had like a defining moment where I thought this isn't for me, and yeah, then I just decided to go full time into spirituality, healing arts. I was also studying and still do to this day a lot of different martial arts and qigong and these sorts of things. So it was this
So that
idea. Yeah.
philosophy, the martial arts, the qigong, that philosophy, I mean, that's obviously a mindset, a thinking of looking at life differently.
Mm.
And how did that support you going down this path?
Yeah, well, particularly with martial arts, you don't get a black belt overnight. It's something
Mm.
that takes years and years and years of, consistent practice over time. And I think business is like that as well. It's like consistently showing up and delivering value to the market. And like the market will compensate you back to the level of value you bring to it. Yeah. So I think that primarily speaks to a mindset of contribution.
Mhm.
And
Just on that, guys, take notes. What he just said is gold. The market will compensate you to the value, to the level of value that you put out. So I want you to think about it. If your compensation is not where you want it to be yet, and yet's the most appropriate word because the implication is it will be, that's why you're here, then think about the value that you're putting out. We talked about earlier this morning in our training. Are you giving to get, like law of reciprocity, right? We know it's a universal law. If I give, people are going to give me back. If that's the intention of giving, then. But I think the law of reciprocity works this way, Lawrence. You get to give. If you got the intentions you get to give, then you'll always be given. But if you're giving to get with that intention, all right? So where's the value? Sorry,
yeah,
Lawrence, to disturb you there, but I wanted to make sure these people can write down the goal that you
yeah,
mentioned.
absolutely. Yeah, and that's it. I think the mindset of contribution is super important, and to have that adopted as a value if it's not something that you already go into. So I guess when we look at this idea that if we are there from a place of surplus and wishing to support others, and that's a real simple thing in our minds, we go like, well, I'm one person, right? And
Mm,
there's all these others, yeah, they must be more important, yeah. So it's not the idea of being a martyr and like, oh, I'll do this thing and then people will feel sorry, or I'll get the love or whatever it is that we're looking for. But if we come from this genuine place of, or adopt that idea, that principle of how we can create a contribution and to help others, support them in their lives, naturally that's going to come back. And it may not come back through the act itself, it might come back over time and through other ways. So I think a lot of the times when we're looking at where we can be of service, that we don't necessarily have to see it coming back from the person we're giving the service to. So again, the mindset of really having contribution at the forefront, the gifts will come in time, and they'll probably come in unusual ways, yeah, that you don't expect. So
yeah,
that's super important. Yeah.
yeah, I love that. Yeah, yeah.
And I think the other point too around people tend to give up too quick or too soon. Yeah, we're living in this society of the instant gratification, and I get on my phone, I get the thing, and I bought it, and there it is, and the next day, and it's this instant thing. So there's this idea of having to work hard for the thing isn't, I think, in a particularly younger generation, which makes me sound incredibly
Mm.
old. But when we're focusing on the immediate gain rather than this, the marathon that it is in business.
Well, let's talk about that, how things have changed from then, our day, to now, like when we started. So you started off counseling and Reiki. Is that really what your clinic was when you came in as a practitioner?
Yeah, yeah, primarily they were the two, and studied a lot of Eastern philosophy and
Yeah.
meditation and things like that as well, which I incorporated into my practice. So,
Mhm.
I was kind of like a
So, so how
multi.
did you build your business? Was it letterbox drops, flyers? Was it,
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
pamphlets at pin boards in colleges?
Yeah, you name it. It was really like old school, like hard copy. Electronic was a fairly new thing at the time, and yeah, so it's been a huge evolution to where it is today. And I think, social proof is such an important part in building a community around you. All of these things make a huge impact these days. But back in the day, it was
Yeah.
like a lot of word of mouth, literal, not electronic, like
Yeah.
actually talking to people. And running seminars in person, these sorts of things. So I did a lot of that. I sort of traveled around the country and overseas and ran courses
Mm.
and did all that face to face, which was great because there's something in that ability to connect with someone else in real life
Yeah.
versus online delivery like we're doing today. But
Mm.
of course, the leverage of online is phenomenal. For you to run this class, you'd be on quite a lot of planes, and it would take a
Yeah.
long time to deliver it. And here we are, we've got a global community of people together, and yeah, so it's amazing what we can do today. And again, if there's the authenticity in the heart with what we do, if that's the motivation, then that's going to come through. It's not something that we can half bake or it can't be contrived. It's
Yeah.
about authentically showing up and having that idea,
Mm.
just yeah, perseverance too. Yeah. So that, well, I was saying before, people give up too soon. Yeah, that they say, oh yeah, I tried that once, it didn't work. It's like, oh, how many times do you need to do something before you really cut through? And it might be, 20, 30 times. It could just go on
Yeah.
and on. But of course, doing something from a place of repetition without strategy and learning as you go isn't so smart either. So it's about having that mix of how we can have perseverance but informed with
Mm.
strategy. So learning from our experiences as
I
we
love
go.
what you're saying there, repetition without strategy. I mean, that's really you're repeating the same thing over and over and over, and only getting good at crappy results, right?
Yeah.
But you mentioned in terms of, you starting where you started and where most of us started, and people give up. Do you think, this question's coming up, having a chat with you, who are the people that give up? Because here's my thought. If you're connected to the calling, if you're connected to your why, your mission, the reason why you exist, I mean, you do what you need to do. You just don't stop. Do you think those who give up maybe are not connected to the core yet, or their purpose is not really clearly defined, or they're maybe working with someone else's purpose? Because I found the ones who just keep going are the ones who know exactly why they're doing it. The ones who
Yeah.
don't, it's what's the next best thing? What do I do now? What do I do now? Are we there yet? You didn't get there, and then I'll start something else.
Yeah, well, that's it. So it really comes down to that, the purpose, the thing that gets you out of bed. And yes, one, it's to pay the bills, but again,
Mm,
is it coming from that place of, how can I can be of service to
mm,
my community, to my friends, family, the world, in whichever, to the level
mm,
we want to do that. So all that is informed by having a grand vision for ourselves,
mm,
our why. So Simon
mm,
Sinek, you're probably familiar with his work. Yeah,
mm,
he talks about, start with why, start with that purpose. And if you're purpose driven, that's the thing that helps you navigate the difficult times. And there will be those times in business for sure. And that's informed through our values. So I think a lot of people don't necessarily know what their standards are for themselves, or they're following someone else's standard
yeah.
or some perceived idea of
Mm,
how I should be. And again, it comes down from, our inner child's deepest need, whatever that
mm,
is. And whether we want to be seen or we want to be validated or we'll get the
mm,
love or we'll get the thing that we're looking for. So it's really we are our own measure of success, our own standard, and we can choose that. And our values are really a bit like it's our true north. You can think of it like a compass. It gets us back on track, and we can, when we're going to make a decision with what we're doing, we should then put it through that filter first of
mm,
saying, well, does this align to my values? And does this fulfill on the my vision for myself? And if the answer is no, even if it's a
mm.
great opportunity, it should still be a no.
Yeah.
And I think also when people are navigating, with decision making and so
Yeah.
forth, is really to have that idea that the things that I say no to will create the spaces for the yeses. Yeah.
Wow. Write that down, guys. The things I say no to will create space for the yeses.
Yeah, and it's true because
Yeah.
if we're a yes person, right, we're like, oh yeah, I'll do this, I'll do that,
People
and if,
pleaser.
yeah, we're pleasing, right? Then and card carrying member of the people pleasing brigade. I've done that a fair bit in my. I don't do it so much these days, but
Yeah.
I definitely have that.
So your membership's expired?
Yeah, that's right. We can do something about that.
Yeah.
Yes. So, yeah, it's that idea of if I am a yes to everything, then I'm actually I'm closing the door on opportunity where there could be something actually greater. So
Yeah.
a part of that is getting out of the way, yeah, allowing
Mm. Mm.
say like your spirit or your intention,
Yeah.
your effort to come out of you and be of service in the world, yeah. But if I'm constantly
Yeah.
having a mindset that's like it's got to be this way,
Mm.
who's to say? It could be hundreds of different
Yeah.
ways. I think it's the idea too with martial arts too. They have this
Yeah.
idea, something comes towards you and you have hundreds of options of what you could do versus like, I'm only going to do it this way. So yeah, we're talking about sort of open mindset versus like a fixed mindset.
Mm.
Um,
Well, let me ask, because I'm sure people are asking, because we all agree that connecting to your why and purpose, and Sarika's just put something in the chat, wow, such a powerful reframe into purpose in terms of the discussion that we're having.
yeah.
How does one, because what I'm hearing, correct me, is so your purpose, what lights you up, your vision is aligned to your values. You discover through knowing what's important to you.
Mhm.
But then how do you find that out? How did you find out what's important to you?
Yeah, well, my process when I first sort of got clear on my values and with values that you should be able to count them on one hand or
Yep.
less, right? So I think, three or four core values that define who you are, I think is super important. So I think it's writing down not what you get to have, but more about like what you stand for, like what's important to you. And that also has very much a feeling quality, like it should light you up when you think, oh, okay, my family is super important, or being really present is super important, yeah, or maybe it's nurturing others, or care, or love, or whatever it is. So having you could write a long list of all the things that are values, yeah, and then you can say, okay, what's really strong for me, and then distill it down to three or
Mm.
four. It's ideal. I mean, sometimes people have a list of like, oh, these are my 12 values. I was
Yeah.
going past a business just a few doors down from where I am, and they had their values on the wall, which is cool, but there was like 14 values, and it's like, ask an employee there, what are the 14 values? They're probably not going to be able to recite,
Yeah.
right? A few maybe. So having less is more is the idea. If we have
Mm.
just a few key pillars that we stand for, and that can evolve over time, but mostly they don't. They're mostly like these are your true north
But
principles.
but but from your experience, from your training in the field and what you've seen from thousands and thousands and thousands of members in your community,
Yeah.
how do you discover that? Is it the journey? Is there some magical process or now I've how do you get to this moment? I mean, how do you work out because you can learn different techniques and modalities to highlight your values and hierarchy them and all that type of stuff we do in different coaching courses, but how does someone know what happens?
Yeah, look, I think most people come to a aha moment with the cue the music, is from that place of adversity. They don't have to get.
Okay. All right.
So it's through difficulty and it's through dissatisfaction with where things are currently, right? So you might be going through some sort of crisis or some sort of rock bottom moment or
Mm.
whatever it is. There's usually some defining thing. Wouldn't it be great if we could make tremendous positive impact and change in the world just springboarding from joy or from
Yeah. Yeah.
clarity? Often that's not the case. We
Mm.
we we come
So
up
that's
against,
the evolution journey, right? Like the dark night of the soul. Are you saying
yeah.
that we need to have that type of adversity for us to have the experience of the dichotomy to understand as above, so below? Like to have that experience as something else exists. Because if without that experience, we're told that we want this or this is what we want to have in life, but we don't really know what it means unless we've experienced this.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, if I'm, trying to teach people about finance and prosperity and I've got $5 in the bank, it's not very authentic, right? So
Mm.
you've got to come from somewhere. So you've got to start where you are. Um, and often people, particularly on social media, they're trying to portray where they'd like to be, but they're not authentically there. So I think it's important around,
Wow.
coming up with
Love
all.
that. Start where you are, guys. And on social media, like we say, we create a social identity. They portray where they'd like to be, not really where they are. So are they influencing people there or are they manipulating with a mask?
And that's right. And so you'll see that with people that they talk up a big game, or my Buddhist teacher used to say, big dogs don't need to bark.
Mm,
And it's this idea that, if you are accomplished and you're centered and you're grounded in your experience, you don't need to toot your own horn. People will just go, oh, okay, that's a big dog, right? The small dogs are yapping, 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 and lots of talk, and
mm,
they're making a lot of noise, but there's not much behind it. So, and that's not a judgment. It's just reality that, there's a bit of fake it till you make it going on with a lot of
mm.
people. And
And one of my mentors, like Tad James, we learned the NLP and the hypnosis with him. He
yeah,
always said, when your life is where you want it to be, you don't need to tell anyone about it.
yeah, that's right.
Right. So then, but what's the fine line? Because you also mentioned social proof's important to build your business today.
It is.
So how do you use social proof and reviews? What's the fine line to actually then overestimating the reviews, or what it is that we do that, my company did this or I did this, and you've only been in the coaching business for, a year, and you tell everyone you've been in it for 20 years because that's when you bought a book on coaching 20 years ago.
Yeah, yeah,
So you've
yeah.
been exposed to coaching for 20 years, but you've only been coaching for a year.
Well, look, I'd be really honest about it and say, emerging, like you can craft it
Mm.
in such a way where it's like, you don't have to talk about the years. You can talk about your passion or
Yeah.
your drive for, wanting to support people in their growth or whatever it might be. So, highlight the areas that support, your identity and your customers. If people are writing a testimonial or review, they're the ones that are telling you what business you're in.
Yeah.
Yes. Listening to the feedback, and also like, it's great to listen to the feedback that isn't so great. If you get a few of those, like, wow, what a great opportunity. So,
Yeah.
I was of the view, and like, this is how we sort of work in our business with our team as well. It's like we've got this idea that we're either learning or we're growing, yeah, or we're succeeding or we're learning. We're not, there's no failure. There's just
Mm.
opportunities to
Yeah.
tweak, to adjust our course. And so again, that comes back to that idea that we're informed, uh, our experience is informed by
Mm.
a solid strategy, and we can adjust and pivot.
Mm.
Yeah, so repetition and doing the same thing that doesn't work isn't going to work, right?
Yeah.
It's
I love
having
that.
that
It's
flexibility.
it's one of the presupposition NLP that we use. Like, there's no feedback. There's no such thing as feedback. There's only feedback.
Yeah.
Right. I tell that story, Lawrence, to the guys in the group, and many years ago when my kids were younger, I come back from school and I said to my son, "How'd you go with the exam?" He goes, "Dad, I got some feedback."
Yeah, great. Yeah.
Right.
Feedback equals opportunities for growth, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
feedback is such a wonderful thing. So, if you're talking to your customers, if you have those opportunities, yes, lovely to get the praise and all of that, but
Mm.
say, where could I improve? What could I do that would be
Yeah.
better? They'll tell you, yeah. And of
Mm.
course, you don't have to take every single thing on. But at the same time, if you're getting consistent feedback that's similar, then you go,
Yeah.
okay, well, there's probably an edge here.
Yeah.
So I'd say your growth opportunities are in the things that excite you and light you up, but your growth opportunities are also in the things that you have adversity and challenge with. Yeah. So we often go towards pleasure and joy
Yeah.
and freedom. And we try to run away from adversity or obstacles or pain. But actually, both are opportunities to
Yeah.
grow. Yeah.
Okay, so let's go back then again, because what lit you up getting in this field was spirituality, doing energy work, being a Reiki healer.
Yep.
So what was then the growth opportunities that came your way to get into create IICT? So what was the adversity that you're experiencing as a therapist and coach and healer that led to this?
Yeah, well, again, it was this idea that we had a problem to solve. I had enough people coming up to me saying, "Oh, well, I do this modality. Do you guys cover that?" And I was like, "Oh no, we only cover X number."
Mm,
So necessity is the mother of all invention. Yeah, so I just had the tenacity to go and look after it, to see what was in the market and see how we could expand something to a much broader market. So again, that was this idea of having a fairly audacious vision.
mm,
I could have called, I was running my business in Fremantle in Western Australia at the time, so I could have called it the Fremantle Institute for Complementary Therapists, but no, I
yep,
called it the International Institute.
yep,
I wasn't anywhere overseas at the time.
mm,
It did lead to that not that long after, but at the time it was, you can think small, you can think big, and then If you stay true to a grander vision, you will live into it. Yeah, it'll come towards you. You meet it halfway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So over the years, from your transition as a therapist yourself and the healer, the energetic worker, to solving a problem, creating an association, to recognize the work that you do, to then multiple modality association being IICT,
Yeah.
you've witnessed the growth of thousands and thousands and thousands of members and current registered practitioners. So if you're to look back, there's success leaves clues, right? There's
Yeah.
there's 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 clues there. So what if you look at all those that have been successful throughout the years? Because some are still just doing this as a part time, it's a hobby, but the ones who really are lit up with their vision and earning an income that and with dignity, making a difference. What's the difference with them? What are some of the characteristics that you've seen in them, from mindset and everything else, the way they do the work and how they do their work? Maybe we can talk about that.
Yeah, well, look, I think success does definitely leave clues, and I find the people that tend to excel have a growth mindset. They're highly coachable, and in that, then generally, I'd always recommend that for someone to have some sort of business mentor or coach, someone who's been where you want to be. Doesn't have to be in the same industry.
Mm.
Uh, but to get advice from someone who's gone and made some of those mistakes, and that's the whole idea. I mean, that's why I'm here today, hopefully shedding some
Yeah.
light, so uh, some of the people here can avoid some of those common
Mm.
mistakes and get there faster. Yeah.
So
Um,
let's just have a look, guys. Before he goes on, have you gotten value already just from what Lawrence is sharing so far? Just put in the chat what's your takeaway so far. Let's anchor in some of the learnings. Let's see what people are saying here, Lawrence. Let's see what impact have you made.
well,
Right, let's
hopefully
see what.
it's not crickets and there's actually some
Yeah,
responses.
that's why I said make sure they're awake. That's why I asked the question. All right. So what's your takeaway, guys? What have you got so far? What are some of the pearls of wisdoms? Or what are some things that are maybe already getting you to think about what you're doing differently? Either learning or growing, no failure, right? People give up too soon. Big dogs don't need to bark. Love it, Taryn. Taryn, you're gonna always go to the big dog one, right? 3 or 4 values from Deneen, right? Way to find your values is saying Phoenix. Modesty is magic, Matei. Now, Matei's on a boat somewhere in Mexico. That's his journey. So that's his feedback. Thanks, Matei. Modesty is magic. Love it. Um, Authenticity in following my heart's purpose. It's important to be aware of what is needed and what can be done. Be real, as saying Maureen. What are my key pillars? Keep going. Feedback equals opportunity. A clear vision, a strong core, purpose alignment. I think something's landing, Lawrence.
I think they're listening.
Yeah. All right. Well, we better get you to talk more then. Let's stage 2.
Yeah, that's all good.
Okay, so mindset, the growth mindset, to keep on growing. I love it. Be coachable. What are the things you feel they need to be learning today and bringing into their business today to build a global business? Because it is a global market. You got to think you're local, but think global, which are
Mm.
different to yesteryear. Like yesteryear was the letterbox drops and all that type of stuff. Today, how much has changed, and what do they need to be doing to be successful in today's market?
Yeah, well, this is it. So, I mean, I think part of it is, if we're one to one, we're limited by time, and we'll also be able to charge as much as we can from a one-to-one relationship. If we
Mm,
can move to a one-to-many model, then that gives us the ability to leverage how much we can grow so we can reach many more people if we're
mm.
going one to many. You don't usually go one to many without first doing one to one because you've got to build the
Mm.
credibility and the growth points like that. But we often reach out sort of upper.
So a one-to-one strategy, go one-to-one to then open up to one-to-many. That could be your growth as a. And at what stage would you go to one-to-many?
Look, it really depends on what how much value you're offering. And also,
Okay.
again, like what I mentioned before, is having this idea of how many brilliant people are surrounding you, are supporting you. Because you can't do it all. When you're an entrepreneur, most people are like a solopreneur and they're doing everything. Yeah, they're
Mm,
doing customer support, they're doing invoicing, they're doing delivering their modality or modalities,
mm,
they're doing their bookkeeping, there's social media, they're doing all these things. So probably the first thing I'd say is to first audit what you're doing. And you can do like a time and task audit. And you can actually do this for like it's usually recommended to do it for 2 weeks because you cover every possible thing.
Yep.
But if you audit your day in 15-minute increments from the time that you wake up to the time you go to bed, you'll see the things that are actually wasting or potentially wasting a lot of time or time that could be allocated to someone else. So perhaps getting, a personal assistant or a virtual assistant, someone who could handle some of those lower level or more repetitive tasks where you can then focus mostly in
So
your,
15 increments.
yeah,
Okay, because obviously we do a lot of time management training. We did a lot of work with Brendan Bouchard. He talks about block time and
yeah.
scheduling each hour and having the break. But now we're going even more granular, 15 minutes to
Yeah.
find what's the wastage in the 1 hour.
Exactly, because often we don't group things together. So like if I'm having a one-on-one with my team, I'll do that. I do that one-on-one as a CEO with my team and a fairly big team, but I
Mm,
will spend that time. But I do that once a quarter, and I spend about half an hour with each team member. But I usually do a 15-minute gap in between. So I've got time to sort of reset, make some notes. The next person comes in,
mm,
and I batch the work that I'm doing, which is super important. But getting back to the time and task audit, you should
mm,
audit it in 15-minute lots of the things that someone else could potentially do. Uh, and so some things we do because we do them because we have to do them and we don't like doing them. But there might be someone else who totally loves doing that. Like for example, I'm not great with my accounting, bookkeeping, all that stuff. I can do it. I don't like doing it.
mm,
So I have a bookkeeper who does all my even pays all my invoices for
mm,
service deliverables, all that, or I create automations where I can,
mm.
so that I don't have to, if I have to do the same task more than twice, I'm already asking the question, who else could help me with this?
Okay.
Yep. And again, it takes time to build up your finances so you can afford. But the idea is you should always be hiring people not to do a task, but you should hire people so that you can buy back more time that you can
Wow.
be in your genius zone. So I would hire, yes, for skill and to solve the
Mm,
problem, but also, okay, what time do I win back by getting this person in and supporting me? And it really could be as simple as having, a VA. So it's the idea of having the tasks itemized and then coding them to whether it's something that you like to do is a filter. So it's a feeling code as well
mm,
as a practical code around, do I do it myself because it lights me up, or do I do it because I have to do it and no one else can do it and I don't enjoy
mm.
it? Then that's definitely a delegation
Yeah.
thing. Or maybe I'm doing stuff that I actually doesn't serve much purpose. And again, it's something I should say no to. So that would be something I delete off my list. So I have four categories. It's do, delegate, delete. And also a fourth category is delay. So it's like I might do this thing, but it's not the right time, or I could do that, next quarter or next year because I've got to grow to this stage so I can then do that thing. So sometimes it's in a delay. But yeah, so do delegate, delete, delay. If it's a delegate, you're assigning that to someone else on your team.
Wow. So do, delegate, delete, delay.
Yeah, the four Ds.
Oh, geez.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah.
So
So
what do you think about that, guys? Do, delegate, delete, delay. So just type in the chat right now, what are the things you need to delegate? From where you are right now in your businesses or in your life, what are some of the things you believe that you need to delegate?
yeah, and on that, I'd say, first you've got to work out, well, what are you worth? Like
Yeah.
what's your hourly rate? Um, and when you're in your high performance genius zone and doing the thing that lights you up, what do you get paid for that? If you're doing something that is less than that amount, then you should be reinvesting that money to someone else who can free you up so you can spend more of your time in your genius.
Mm-hmm.
So they talk about the sort of 80-20 principle, Pareto principle, but it's actually probably more like a 95-5.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Like 5% of the things will generate 95% of your revenue and your wealth or bring
Mm.
the most joy. And so if you can spend the majority of your time doing the things that bring you joy and
Mm.
bring others joy, like how much freedom does that bring, right?
I love that you said the 95-5 because I talk about the 80-20 and then from the 20, the 80-20 of the 20.
Yeah,
So the 80-20 of the 20 is the 5.
it is. That's right.
Right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We get there in the end, right? So it's
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
idea of like, yeah, doing the things that really invigorate us and bring meaning to our lives, and that also means not just us in our working life, but also the things that support our health, fitness,
Mm.
relationships, family, whatever that is for you, hobbies, like all of that is in the mix. It's not just, doing the work I got to do to get
Well,
there.
how do you do it? How do you achieve the balance? Because again, like as I said earlier, like IICT being a finalist in the 300 companies around the world in terms of the most likable company to work at. So how do you create the culture and the environment? Because I also talked to some of your guys, right? I spoke to your marketing guys and everything else, and they talk about you guys go together on a sauna and a spa, and you got those days that you do your. So how do you create the balance with you and the organisation, your team?
Yeah, well, that's it. So I'm really looking at with my team, I'm looking at outputs and outcomes rather than watching the clock. So having a lot of flexibility. I treat the people who work on my team like I'd like to be treated. So I give them a lot of respect, a high degree of autonomy, but that is measured through appropriate training and
Mm, yeah,
expectations, accountability for how we'd like to, see what does success look like. People, if you just say, "Oh, go and do this thing for me," and you don't give them an idea of what that looks like for it to be a success or that everyone's happy,
mm,
then you can get anything, right? So it's important to let people know what success looks like, and then give people the freedom and the space so they can be in their lane and be a high performer and deliver on their results. Because um, if you really support people to embrace their genius, then they will. And if you try to micromanage or corral them a certain way, then you're getting in the way. Yeah.
mm,
You shouldn't have them as an employee because you're getting in the way of them being in their genius zone. So again, like the things that light you up may not light the other person up, but the
yeah.
things you dislike, they might totally nerd out on that. They
Mm.
might love it.
How,
Yeah.
how do you caught up micromanaging yourself? Because micromanaging yourself gets in the way of you being in your zone of genius.
Yeah,
And what
yeah.
have you seen therapists in the past fall into?
Yeah, well, that's one is the inner work that you do. So that's your inner critic and looking after that, being accountable. That's the thing. Most people who run their own business or practice, they don't have anyone they're accountable to. They might have people working for them, and those people
Mm,
have to be accountable to the boss. But that's where a an advisor or a mentor or a coach, they can
mm.
provide the accountability for the entrepreneur. Yeah.
Yeah. And for you, so I mean, obviously you're still growing ICT. There's a huge vision, bigger vision, more countries, and more really make an impact with this industry to, help the people who are the heart center want to make a difference to really thrive, making a difference. And,
Yeah.
we talk about one mind, one heart, one soul at a time. How can
Yeah.
you expand your mind, heal your heart, and nurture your soul on this journey? So, who are your mentors? Who's your business coach? Can I have their name?
Yeah, I mean, I've got a few different advisors, and
Yeah,
so part of a mastermind as well. So
yeah,
there's just six of us in that group,
yeah,
and once a month, and we discuss our challenges, and it's also an opportunity to celebrate our wins together.
yeah.
And uh, yeah, so look, I've had a lot of different people over the years who've supported me in my growth, and uh, I feel like sometimes you might stick with someone for a period of time because they give you the piece that you need that to
Mm,
get to the next thing. It's like that with relationships too. We might be in a relationship and we learn all we need to learn and then
mm.
we move on. And other times, that's an enduring thing that goes for a whole lifetime, right? Or
And,
different.
and I love that because I've always said that people will stay with your clients or relationships, or people will stay with you in your life as long as they feel they can continue to learn from you or with you
Mhm.
and grow with you. If people still can learn, believe they can learn with you and grow, they'll stay with you. So if people are leaving you, clients are leaving you, or
Mhm.
relationships are leaving you, then have a look at, have you stopped growing? Have you stopped learning? Because people got to a logical level. What's next for them? And for me, that was my biggest lesson along the, because, I got to this stage throughout the 30 years, I thought I knew it all. I was on top of the mountain, this. Then suddenly students and people going elsewhere. Well, what happened there? Because I stopped growing. I
Yeah.
stopped learning. And the moment I said, you know what, well, I didn't fall, I didn't come down the mountain. I fell off the mountain. I crashed,
Right.
right? And had that moment, had that
Yeah.
aha moment where you realize, okay, and there's every black belt knows that the white belt mentality is the secret to success, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, having beginner's mind is super, like the saying is that the spontaneity of the student is the envy of the master. Yeah.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, because the enthusiasm that people have when they're just coming into setting up their business, their practice, and there's that drive, yeah. And if someone's been at it for decades, they're probably, hopefully they've landed, they've mastered some things,
Mm,
but they may not have that level of oomph that is sometimes needed, yeah. So yeah, I think it's that having this idea that when we look at life through the lens of having choice and allowing that choice into our lives, then more opportunity will come from that. Yeah.
mm,
If we limit our view, then we limit the opportunities that come towards us. And I use this one a lot for myself, which I heard somewhere, I can't remember where it was, but it's this idea if I look at my you know, the things that I have to do in my life, if I have a have to do versus a get to do, it's a
mm,
massive mindset shift. So it's like, oh, wow, I get to put the laundry out, or I get to take my kids to basketball practice, or
mm,
I get to run the dog, versus, oh, I have to put the laundry out and I've got to run the dog and I've got to do the thing. It's like, oh, sounds like a chore. Yeah. So just having that slight tweak around
mm.
oh, I get to switch the tap on it and fresh, clean water
Mm.
comes out. Like so many
And that's
things
just
we take for
changing your
granted.
mindset and your value and looking at why that task is important to you. If you can connect
Yeah,
to the importance of that task, and you change your frame of it.
yeah,
So,
exactly. Yeah.
Lawrence, I know, look, we've got a bit more time, and I know that we can go on and on and on. And again, maybe these guys might say, hey, we want him to come back and talk more about his spiritual journey and the things that he talked about, Aikido and karate. Who wants to learn more of that mindset? Would you want to know more about? Because if you want him to come back, he might come. He loves being on the camera. I love having a conversation with him, right?
Yep.
You happy here, Lawrence?
Yeah, well, I'm
Yeah,
happy. I
yeah.
can talk for
But
ages.
but what we want to do is you talked about mindset and you got to keep on going. So, what are
Mhm.
some of the tools and skill? And you also talked about when people are putting out content. I really love that because we're talking about being authentic and identity.
Mm.
If you're new, instead of attempting to beat your chest, right? Because make out that you're a big dog when share content about your vision, share content about what interests you, share content about what's important to you and what you stand for, because that's going to separate you, right? It's no longer about results. It's no longer about what I've done. It's no longer about how much money I've made or how many sales I've made. It's about why you do what you do and what you stand for. And that's attractive to people, right?
Mm. And it's that whole idea too, you talked about the idea of, climbing the mountain, getting to the top, and it's like, we have this sort of idea that we never we might get to the top of a peak, but actually we look up and go, oh, well, hang on,
Yeah.
there's another 20 mountains above that
Yeah.
one. So,
I avoided those. I thought they didn't exist.
yeah, yeah, there you go. But it's the idea that, we're always growing and developing.
Yeah.
It's like we're on a flight and the plane never lands. Yeah, there's no
Yeah.
arrival hall, or there's no end goal. It's just this idea that we stay true to this unattainable vision and make it grand, and you just keep expanding and growing, and
Mm,
contributing, and new opportunities come when we expand and grow, and we come up against our own self-limiting beliefs, and we have then the opportunity to work with that or not.
mm,
It's up to you. Yeah. And again, so coming back to what is my standard for myself, not
mm.
what I think people think I should be like, or whatever it is. Yeah. And that stuff I wish I'd learned earlier. I had this
Yeah.
idea of like, well, I'm the measure of my success, not what
Mm.
someone else thinks. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
something.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so then you're the measure of your own standard. So coming back to that, so then what are some of the strategies you talked about? Because repeating without a strategy, you're going to end up. So in today's world, what are some of the strategies and the tools and tips from your experience that you've seen all some of your members that have really become successful? What are they putting in place? What are they doing? And what do these guys need to become aware of? And how can we support them and point them in the right direction?
Yeah, well, look, I think often people are always chasing the next customer, the next client, and they're not looking after how they can maximize the relationship with the people who already have done business with them.
Mm,
So, for example, if one of your customers, you haven't heard from them in a year or two, then reach out to them and make them
mm,
some enticing offer for them to come back, or, add something new. Really, if you want to grow your business or your practice, there's really only three ways you can do it. And
mm,
this sort of comes from the work of Jay Abraham, who's like
yep.
this marketing legend.
Mm,
It's the idea that you either can increase the number of clients, so that's find new people. You can increase the transaction value of your new clients, but also your past clients, get them to
mm,
re-engage, to buy something else. And you can also increase the frequency. So maybe instead of them coming to you twice a year, maybe they can come to you, once or
mm,
twice a week. Is there some
yeah.
way to have repeat business? And you can only really do that if you first audit
Mm,
what you do, and then look at where you can optimize or even split test
yeah.
this approach versus that, see what's the better. Usually one will be significantly better, and then you make
Yeah.
iterations, constantly
So,
improving.
because when we started, right, we it was session by session by session. People came and saw us. What was it,
Yeah,
$50 session for Reiki or $80 session for
yeah,
Reiki?
yeah,
Yeah,
something like
renting a room for about $60 a day or something like in some sort of clinic.
that.
So the industry's changed, right? Because that's the therapy industry, and as the growth of the coaching industry, we've gone from that session to session to session to packaging to a program. So as opposed to, and I mean that's important because that gives relief to people, right? Some people just need relief. But at that time they get relief, how do you build that relationship to get them into a program, which might be a multi-session process, a program to help them get a specific result, whether it's a 30-day program, a 60-day program. Is that
Yeah.
what you're seeing most of the successful practitioners moving towards, and moving not just from a therapy business, but also packaging and taking the client on a journey?
Yeah, absolutely. It's like an ascension model where
Mm,
people, go through, and then it's like a masterclass, what goes up higher and whatever. It's
yeah.
similar stuff to what you're doing, I'm sure, as well.
Mm,
But like often, for people to make that decision, there's usually a risk in their head. There's something in their head which is in the way. So if you can work out what that is and remove that risk, then people are more likely to want to do work with you, or do, spend more money or whatever it is. And often the issue that people have is this idea, well, if I'm spiritual, I can't be, wealthy. I can't receive
yeah.
money because I've got to play small. Yeah. And it's not your choice to limit what that is. It's really it's incumbent upon each person to deliver, the value that that person needs, right? And
Mm,
if you don't, you're actually robbing them of that experience. You're creating a
mm.
debt of some kind with that person because you haven't fulfilled the opportunity to the extent it may need, and you won't know that unless you ask or you inquire. So getting out of the way of that process, and creating a way to remove obstacles in the person making that decision. And that often, comes to the different strategies, like having a really good guarantee, some sort of no risk thing for the
Mm.
person business with you. Like if you don't see the results, or you don't get the desired outcome, you don't pay, or, we give you some of it back, or whatever it might be. So
So
I,
that philosophy, that's interesting because at the core of a traditional acupuncturist, right, you go to China, like you go into the little communities, into the town, like into the villages. The person that would do the Chinese medicine, like it was like they only paid on the result. People only
it
paid
is.
them on the result.
Yeah. And that's such a flip on the current model, right? You don't look after yourself, you get unwell, and then you go and see
Mm,
whoever you got to see to get better, and then you get charged. Whereas, yeah, back in the Eastern traditions,
mm,
yeah, you'd pay to maintain your wellness, and as soon as you
mm,
got ill, you stopped paying. So
mm,
you paid a retainer to maintain, your optimal health, in
mm.
So it's very different to how it is then. But yeah, so getting back to this idea of having like a guarantee or a risk reversal strategy that scares you, like it really should.
What are
Like,
the some of the what are the good ones that you've seen, like from some of the members along the way? What have you can suggest some ideas as a guarantee or risk reversal strategy?
yeah, well, that's it. So one is like, if you don't get the result that you desire by this time frame, then
Mm,
there's no, you don't pay. Yeah.
mm,
I mean, you can look at different. I guess when you're buying or shopping online, um, you'll see if you start to look at how other people do their marketing, you'll start to see patterns, and you go like,
mm,
oh, well, what made me but make this purchase decision? And
mm,
you look at that and you go like, oh, they've got that really powerful guarantee. Like I saw one there. This is not related to this industry, but I saw it the other day. An ad came up on Instagram for umbrellas. And I don't know, I think I might have said to my partner, oh, grab an umbrella, it's going to rain.
mm.
And then, my phone's listening and there's an ad for umbrellas, right? And so the ad was lifetime guarantee on an umbrella, right? And it's like, oh my God, like, you mean I can take this umbrella back in 30 years and they'll just give me a new one? And it's like, yeah. So it's like, and they're expensive, right? But I can buy a cheap umbrella for 10 bucks, or I can
Yeah.
spend $200 on this umbrella, but actually I buy it once.
Mm,
So again, that's like a huge, huge risk reversal, or like if you're not happy, we'll not only refund you, but we'll double your money back.
mm.
I love
Okay, let me ask you a question because that's an important point you raise, and I agree that risk reversal and providing some sort of certainty for the client on the result.
Yep,
Given that we're moving in an industry where I get it if it's like a therapy-based industry, you got a pain, a problem, like acupuncturist, you get the result, you pay.
yep.
But as I come in the coaching business, there's what responsibility does the client have to actually do the work that's required to get the result too? Because there's two people in that equation, right? You've got the practitioner and the client.
Yep.
So it's easy for the practitioner to do the work and then the client to say not do the work required or the homework or the tasking and not get a result. Do they
Right.
still get the money back? And
Oh, well, you got to build, that's what you build into your guarantee, right?
mm,
So if you don't get the result and provided you have followed the steps and
yep,
completed the program, and at that point you're still not getting the value, great. We don't want your money. We'll give
mm,
it back to you. Yeah. So again, it's always about, it's a dual relationship. So some like our guarantee for my business, we used to have some stipulation. Now we just call it 100% happy guarantee, and we'll refund people for any reason, like literally, because that's how confident we are that they'll get that much value.
now that's from experience, though, right? So, but because of being in the industry for such a long time and the feedback from your clients, I mean, to offer that guarantee without proof of concept, I mean, from a
Mhm.
business perspective,
Risky.
risky,
And
right?
that's what I'm saying though. It should
Yeah,
scare the pants off you.
yeah,
If your guarantee doesn't scare you as the person who's
yeah.
offering it, it's not strong enough.
Okay.
Yeah. Because again, the customer's going like, I've got nothing to lose. I'd be crazy not to do business
Yeah.
with this person. And when you look at how many people claim a guarantee, and I can say this from experience, like we've
Mm,
probably had half a dozen people over the last 20 odd years
mm,
a refund on one of our memberships because we've just offered such great service. And those 20 people, I'm happy to pay
mm.
those because it happens so rarely. And they're not a good fit. So great. I'm doing a disservice if I keep them when they could have an opportunity with someone else that is a better fit. Yeah.
Mm,
So again, it's like I don't own the relationship. It's a
mm.
dual relationship. So I
Yeah.
want to support the person. And if that means going somewhere else, great. It's like being in a intimate relationship with somebody and it's not working for them, we'll set them free. Like why should I can have it be the constraint?
Yeah. Yeah.
If someone finds the joy somewhere else, then go there.
Mm, yeah.
It's not up to us. So I think it's important to that, have some boundary with it and
Mm,
trial and test it and see what happens. Ask your customer. Like,
mm.
I think there's so many opportunities to learn about how we can do a better service by actually taking the time to call up existing customers and ask, surveying them, but actually
Okay.
a conversation,
mm,
because often people go, "Oh, it's a survey, whatever,"
mm,
And
mm,
I'm like that. We're all super busy,
yeah.
right?
Well, a couple of questions. What you're saying, because you mentioned that the 3 steps to build your business. Get new clients, increase your rate, and increase the consistency or the repetition of existing clients. Now,
Yeah.
a lot of people might think, oh, well, that's great to say. I don't have clients yet.
Mhm.
So they don't have clients, but what do they have?
They've got a network of people they know,
There you
right?
go.
They've got
Yeah.
family, they've got friends, they've got
Mm,
people who like them on Facebook or
mm,
whatever, right? So you just go out to your existing community and then you can talk to the people who you know, and those people probably know people who you could work
mm.
with. So
So
again,
getting
it's
yourself
not,
out there, letting your community know what you're doing, letting them know where your direction is, your vision, what you're excited about,
yeah,
and
yeah. So it's like it's who do you know, and then they might know someone, and they may not be a good fit. But then you ask them,
mm,
well, who do you know? So you can go several. So this is like a
yeah,
referral systems we're talking here now. But we can simply do that by having conversations with
mm,
people, and it's also like being really clear about what problem do you solve.
mm,
So I often say it's like having a good elevator pitch. Like if you're in an elevator and you're going
mm,
from the ground floor up to the 20th floor, you've got 30 seconds.
yep,
People say, "Oh, what do you do?" If you just tell them what you do without telling them how you solve a problem,
mm,
they're gonna have, "Oh, you're a this" in their head.
mm,
Otherwise, if you say, "Well, you know how people experience a lack of direction and
mm,
meaning in their
mm.
lives. Well, I help people unlock their true potential and enable them to accelerate at XYZ, whatever it is." Yeah. So you're actually, and then they go, "Oh, that's like, I'm like that." Or I know someone who's needing
Yeah.
that.
Now,
You
I
know,
love what you're saying there because that's what we call the 30-second holistic pitch.
yeah.
Right, because the elevator pitch, as you know, they only had a certain amount of time for you, the budding writer, to talk to the director as they get to the office. Right, that's where that
Yeah, yeah.
came. So when you say, well, you know how most practitioners or coaches in the industry are finding it hard to get themselves out there, or really you've got multiple modalities. They don't know, they haven't got a place to be able to feel certain they can have the security to practice. Well, we help those practitioners, save time and money, providing a one-stop shop for them to get themselves out there. Now
Yeah.
so when you say, so you're talking to the unconscious mind with a problem, with a problem, with a solution, the unconscious mind, but we still got critical faculty. You know what we introduce that critical faculty? Then we provide, in fact, I was working with someone the other day and give them a review.
Yeah.
So
Story.
if you know how people experience XYZ, well, we help people get XYZ solution. In fact, I was working with a person the other day, or I was talking to a friend who saw someone that does my modality the other day, and they got this result. So that, in fact, provides
Well,
the
that's
evidence
story.
for critical faculty.
It is, and that's storytelling, right? And again, if you're leading that conversation with authenticity and with your heart,
Mm,
the emotion is what's going to buy. The emotion is going to be the action trigger point. So people buy from emotion, and they don't. Then the critical mind comes in, going, "Oh, hang on, maybe I should have I
yeah.
should do this or that." So it's a bit of both. But I think particularly with people who are uh, in this arena of wanting to help and support, they're very much
Mm,
driven by emotion and
yeah.
by desired feeling result. And so if you're speaking in their language, and this is like NLP, that sort of
Yeah.
stuff, use the words, or use the tonality, or
Mm,
use the things that match that
yeah.
person,
Yeah.
and talk about them. Just the simple thing of putting their name on an email, to so and so,
Yeah.
not just like, "Hey friend," like,
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
that how you have conversations in the street with people? No.
Hey, friend. Haven't
"Hey
seen you for a
friend."
while, friend.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Like, why would you do it on a
So,
digital
so,
platform?
so tell me then, Lawrence, because obviously there's a lot we can unpack here. So I'm getting the right mind. So working on your mindset, consistently doing the work, providing value, always learning to become best at what you do. From the strategy perspective, what are some of the strategies that you feel people need to put in place, or systems in today's world, especially if they want to go global and build an international business? What are some of the things that you're seeing Because some people are still on, they're still calling their phone to make an appointment or using Excel spreadsheets, right? So they're still building businesses an old way, a part-time way,
Mm.
which is not a bad thing, but they're struggling because that system or the strategy is not effective anymore, not efficient anymore. So what are the things that you would suggest from your experience that these guys can start to look at, start thinking about implementing into their businesses or?
Yeah, yeah. Well, look, there's loads of technology tools and systems, and systemizing how you do everything is super important. You effectively creating a playbook on how to do things,
Mm,
and this is the thing that helps you leverage yourself and replicate yourself.
mm,
If you're not documenting how you do the thing, um, and it's usually the thing you don't like to do, then
mm,
you've got to document it, then you can teach it. And a simple way is just to film yourself doing the thing, or recording on screen how you do a process. So having, customer management software like, CRM,
yeah,
like HubSpot or
yeah,
Salesforce, whatever it
yeah,
might be,
yeah. Or
to
OSP?
yeah, whatever it is, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So, you're managing your client records, having reminders on how to contact and reach out and when to. I mean, there's so many tools.
And
I would
this is
say
good.
using, yeah,
The,
ChatGPT as well, like so using AI.
awesome. So
It's
the
so,
people that you see are being successful today, they're the ones that've got this in place.
yeah. Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, or they've got people around them who can execute on these things.
Yeah. Smarter people than them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It
Yeah.
always be like, how do I leverage my time? Because money will come, right?
Mm,
It's your time, which is the most valuable asset, and it's gone. When it's gone, it's gone. It's a not replenishable resource. Yeah.
yeah.
Uh, Money, you can do all sorts of things with that, but yeah, your time is so precious. So, and that's why we were saying before about, auditing your time and your tasks down to the 15 minute. If you do that for 3 or 4 days, you'll immediately self-correct. You'll know
Mm,
exactly, oh my God, I'm wasting all this time, checking my emails, or
mm,
I'm spending all this time doing data entry when it could be automated, or maybe someone else could do that for me.
yeah.
So, where am I spending my time? Where am I wasting my time? Who can I get to help me? What technologies can I use to support that that can grow as I grow?
Mm,
And even looking at different ways you can integrate AI, or getting shortcutting
yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
process, yeah, by
Mm,
doing appropriate research in the market to see what's most useful, what's
yeah.
trending, what works.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. We got a question in the chat from Sarika there, Lawrence. If there's not enough existing connections,
Mhm.
how to find clients other than on social media?
Again, it's what I said before, like reach out to your networks other than social media, like talk to
Yeah.
family and friends, get involved in doing something new as well. So,
Mm,
maybe it's a new hobby, and then people are going to say, "Oh, what do you do?" And then you can ask, So, for me, I'm always, I'm telling people what I do, and they go, "Oh, that's interesting. Oh, yeah, I know someone who does that, or whatever
mm.
it is." And so conversations and talking about the thing that inspires you will want, that's fairly viral, like that. People want to share those stories or those experiences. So I think it's really important just to
So you
kind of,
need to talk to people. You need to get yourself out there. It's not a case that you learn a craft and you just sit there and people are going to come into the door. At one level, you need to get yourself out there, whether it's one-on-one in person, one-on-one online, or using systems, as we said before. And
yeah,
if you're not, it comes down to mindset, right?
yeah, exactly. And having that level of adaptability, because people talk about IQ, like intelligence, then they talk about
Mm,
EQ, and emotional
mm,
intelligence, and then CQ, change adaptability.
yeah.
So adaptability,
Mm.
intelligence. So
And VQ, vibrational intelligence.
as well, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, so it's got to be aligned. So
yeah.
yeah, it's important to have that idea of being open to change, and
Mm,
my way may not be the right way.
yeah.
So discover your way, yeah, because
Mm,
what worked for me and got me to where I am isn't necessarily going to work for everyone else, because it was
mm,
a different time. We talked about sending out flyers and
yeah.
letterbox drops and all sorts of stuff. It's like people don't do that because it's not cost effective or
Mm.
smart to do it that way.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I think it's always this whole idea of if we can be actively expanding our network and our horizons, there's
Mhm.
opportunities with that. Yeah. And even if you're like submitting an article for a
Mm.
magazine or something like that, then that's going to reach a lot of people's lives, or being a guest speaker like I am here in this
Yep.
instance, or getting on a podcast, or
Mm.
whatever it is. So, there's so many ways to reach an audience. I'm happy to have any other questions too that, anyone else wants to ask.
Yeah, look, we might ask some questions out because we've gone 90 minutes and we said it's going to be 90-minute masterclass. And I mean, there's a lot we can chat about, right? I mean, the
Yeah.
time's gone like that. And sure, we've talked about the snippets about what's involved in building a business, but also, when we get deeper into the mindset and deep into the heart set and the personal journey and the
Yeah.
personal experience, so that's where the learning comes to. I've always said to everyone, what we think is most personal is most general. So sharing our story of that adversity and the way we got out of it is actually what's healing too. So I know these guys might be interested to hear more about that type of stuff. So if you're available, we might do something again. But what I want to ask now, because I also want to let them know what's available with IICT as well too.
Sure.
If you were to break down all the things that you've come across, because you said less is more, right? Give me four or five or four. What are the four things they would need to focus on for them to actually build a global business, a successful business, doing what they love and earning an income with dignity? What are the top four things, four or five things?
Yeah, well, I think the first thing that comes to mind is this idea of continuous improvement. So the Japanese word for that is kaizen. So it means continually tweaking and optimizing, improving what you're doing, like you're
Mm,
improving yourself. I think that's super important because we're always learning, always growing. So a
mm,
growth mindset, it speaks to that. Yeah, the other thing is expanding your reach. So we spoke about that too.
mm,
How we can build our network and reaching out and having a clear vision for that.
mm,
What else would I say? I mean,
mm.
so many
There's
things.
three so far. All
Yeah.
right. Kaizen, expanding a reach, building a net worth. Yep. Yep.
Also getting clear about like what's my value and what are
Mm,
my self-limiting beliefs about
mm,
um, worth. What
yep.
am I worth this thing?
Mm,
So self-love, self-value is
yep.
important because like if we're going out into the world saying, "Oh, I'm this whatever,"
Mm,
but inward you're saying, "Oh, I'm a fraud," or
yep.
imposter syndrome or whatever it is,
Mm,
um, that's what's gonna get in the way. Yeah. So doing the inner work around our
mm,
self-worth,
yep.
whatever the core wound is for ourselves, like
Mm,
doing some personal work. Therapy or whatever it is that's going to help unlock those
mm,
self-limiting beliefs will change a lot of things. And I'd say the other thing is, yeah, perseverance
mm,
informed by strategy.
mm.
Yeah, which we spoke about.
Perseverance informed by strategy. I love that.
Yeah, yeah,
Lawrence, let's talk about IICT because I want to bring some people want to know a bit more about IICT. So we've got, get all your natural therapy modalities internationally recognized and access competitive price insurance. Why is it important to be part of an association? Because some people say, I don't need an association, I don't need insurance.
yeah,
Why is it important for a therapist? So what are the legal ramifications? And it could be different in different countries, but why
yeah.
is it important to be part of an association?
Yeah, well, I mean, if you just look at the whole idea of having insurance for your practice, I think
Mm,
that is a bit like, you wouldn't get in a car and drive it without it being
yep.
insured. Yeah. So why are you driving your
Mm,
business uninsured?
yep.
Because you really just need one person to do malpractice, and that might be it. It's over.
Mm.
Yeah, like literally.
And you could have done something right, but
Yeah.
actually they're making the claim, and so now there's all this expense to prove that you're
Yeah,
innocent.
exactly. So
Yeah,
again, yeah, it's kind of like, guilty until proven
yeah,
innocent is often that's how that
mm,
it works. So yeah, having that in place for me, I think is an absolute no-brainer. It doesn't cost a lot either. Um, and in terms of being part of a body is really just to, it's a pretty lonely existence often if
mm,
we're a solopreneur. So it's about having that sense of community and connection, and we give a lot of our people also a lot of support and how to
Mm.
be successful in their practice.
Yep.
And we also very much around social change. So we
Yep.
donate a certain percentage of all the revenue
Okay.
we generate towards
Yeah.
social causes and helping people. So yeah, I think it's a sense of belonging, networking, business support resources,
Mm.
and being part of a social global movement that's going to help the world be a better place. Yeah.
Yeah.
And making sure you,
And I was speaking to Kat before when she was still here,
yeah,
and we're going through some of the legal stuff here in Australia. Like, and again, it's different from different countries, so you need to check that because if you're doing this work and someone's coming to pay you in the under the umbrella of you helping them with their mental health.
mhm,
Now, you might not be an allied health professional like a psychologist or psychiatrist, but if they're paying you to help them with their stress and whatever, you may be seen as a mental health provider based on any legislation act, and there's a requirement that you're insured. So
yeah.
potentially then it's a law, and then you might face fines and everything else if you're not, right?
Yeah. So I
And
think
then,
what you're speaking to is staying in your lane. Yeah.
yeah,
So doing what you're qualified to do and not
mm,
doing things that
yeah,
are not qualified to do. So
yeah,
it's important to be staying within your scope of
yeah,
practice.
yeah.
Uh,
So
and-
ICT is covered in all these countries and growing. And the
yep.
website is myict.com, and we'll give you some information now. But
Yep.
we've got a question there from Maureen. Is there something coming up regarding insurance for South Africa now that BGI is no longer serving us? Is
All
that a
right.
more
Yeah.
detailed question, or is that something they'll find out later?
No, that's coming back online next month. They had
Yeah.
that they had to adjust, so we've just paused that program, but it's
Mm,
been unpaused, so that'll
mm.
be back available next month.
So
And we're
you
also,
guys work together with the actual insurance companies in those countries. You lobby them to make sure you meet certain criteria to be able to get the practitioners covered for the modalities that they accept. Yeah.
yeah. So we're dealing with various insurance brokers, and then they're liaising with the underwriters. So we have
Mm,
different arrangements for regions. So
mm,
Australia and New Zealand is one region, UK, Europe is another, which includes South Africa, and then we've
mm,
got a separate arrangement for Canada, a separate one for the US.
mm.
But we're just in the process of opening things up in Singapore and Hong Kong as well.
Okay.
So
Great.
the next two countries we're bringing online this year. So.
Love it. All right. So, I mean, this is from the website. If you go to, how ICT helps natural therapies, look, you got over 11,000 members registered,
Mhm.
right? 35 or so in the community,
Yeah.
over 1,100 modalities and growing. So, and I love that there's now a criteria to ensure that people who are choosing to have the modality registered have meet a certain way of delivery, which is awesome. Because back in the day, it was here's my form, I'm covered.
Exactly, yeah.
Right?
We have a good amount of rigor with the people
Yeah.
providing education in this space because
Yeah.
our vision is to really
Mm,
elevate the global impact of
mm,
therapists, and that
mm,
means how people are being educated, making sure that's
yeah.
of a high caliber.
Let me
Yeah.
ask, I've got a question in there. What about Mexico? Mexico.
One day, I'm not sure yet.
What's required? What are the steps to get into a country?
Yeah, look, it's really around finding an insurance provider who wants to cover that particular region, and then
Mm.
the risk profile. It's a fairly complicated and long drawn out process. It's also about seeing, how many wellness practitioners are,
Demand, right? It's a demand.
what's the available market for it
Yeah.
and what's the potential growth. So yeah,
And
for us,
that's for us too, like coming from my perspective, our vision is growing our neurosomatic dynamics, which is now endorsed by ICT.
yeah.
As we're building a global community and we're getting people registered with our certification, and there's more demand for them to get recognized, then we can lobby, we can say we've got 5 people, 10 people, go to the providers then, so we've got 10 people, we want to get this registered, and with your support, then ultimately get this done. That's how it happens?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
it. And often, like when we're adding a new modality to our ever expanding list,
Mm.
it's usually coming from people who are practitioners of that, and
Yeah.
then we contact the people who are the trainers and saying, "Look, we've got all these graduates who want
Mm.
to get recognized.
Mm.
You guys should become an approved training provider with us, and then any of your existing graduates will get that." So whether it comes via the
Mm.
training provider or
Mm.
the graduates
Mm.
or the students, yeah,
Mm.
it's there to help them. Yeah,
So with Lennis, with Mexico, maybe we can be pioneers in creating something
yeah.
in Mexico.
Yeah.
All right. So
Open to anything, you know. Yeah.
the benefits, obviously, we talked about benefits, credibility, cover, community, important one. Confidence that you're part of a community that's making sure they've got your back as the industry changes.
Yeah.
And of course, these are the different certifications. Right now, you could actually be a student member too, guys. A student membership $1, isn't it?
Yeah.
So if
Yeah.
you're a student without certification yet, you can become a student member, have access to all the facilities, and have some sort of cover, at least from a student perspective. But how does that work?
Yeah, so we just do that. So sometimes, depending on what you're doing,
Mm,
you're getting your hours up so that you can get qualified. And then, if you're doing that outside of the
mm,
learning environment, then you might need cover for that.
yep,
But it's kind of for us, we make it like so low barrier, like it's a $1.
yep,
So it's like
yeah,
it's kind of like it's like you're going through the supermarket and
mm,
someone's there saying, "Would you like to try this thing?" It's a try before you buy kind of
mm,
offer there. But yeah, we support people who are in the process of education. Some people are qualified in one modality, but they're learning another. So
yep,
it can be a hybrid of those.
mm,
Yeah, so we're just trying to make sure that we're looking after everybody depending on wherever they are on their journey,
mm,
whether they're learning or they're qualified or they're
mm,
looking to start running training courses or open their own college.
yep.
We're catering to the whole market.
Mm. There's a question from Renata. Can somebody certify new type of therapy? Is that somebody, anybody? Are you saying can anybody certify new type of therapy? Because
Yep.
there is a requirement. It's not, you don't just accept everyone. Someone can say, hey, I've created XYZ protocol,
Yeah,
right?
we have an application process for having a new modality recognized. So there's a bit of work with that.
And
It-
there is. And
yeah,
because even the person's lodging it is going to have to put their CV, their training, their experience, and why are they seen as the authority? I mean, I had to go through the rigmarole now in the update, right? Which is great to see because it's important to ensure that what is endorsed, they've gone through a certain,
yeah.
um,
Again, we want standards, right, for the
yeah,
industry, and it's not the Wild West. It is a
mm,
bit, unregulated
mm,
space for a lot of people, but
yeah,
we have that. That's part of our global vision is
yeah.
just to ensure that there's a really authentic
Mm.
standard across the various modalities.
So, guys, if any of you are not a IICT member yet, like all our modalities that we cover here, the great news is we're endorsed with IICT. And what I like about IICT is, like Lawrence, he doesn't have his own school to teach people. He's not like, be a member of me and then I'm going to teach you my stuff. It's like it's an independent association. It's not an association that was developed by someone else who's teaching people, say, hey, we got our association. It's like it's purely independent, supporting the whole industry. If you're not a member yet, NLP is covered, timeline therapy, as long as you've done the assessments and you got your certifications, your hypnotherapy, your coaching, your energy psychology and EFT, and neurosomatic coaching. Now, neurosomatic dynamics is an endorsed modality and growing in the different countries. If you're not a new member yet, go to the website because you've got great news. It's the EFE sale. They can save
That's right.
50% off. 50% off your membership. Just go to this is their directive. It's not like a Conscious Mastery Academy one. Hey, we could give you a code to save 20%, but you're saving 30% over 50% over here. Right? So guys, go ahead. If you're not a member yet, it'll serve you to become part of the community. It'll provide certainty for you, and you'll be able to then organize your insurance through their brokers and their providers. And, it's positioning yourself. It's actually setting the intention, setting the message to the unconscious mind now that you're ready to actually work as a professional.
Yeah, it's a credibility assurance as well. So, people who want to work with you, they're going to go, well, what's your credentials? Yeah. And who's
Mm,
backing you? So IICT essentially is then saying, well, we think you're of a suitable
mm,
standard, so we're going to support you in your practice.
mm,
And then the customer's going like, well, okay, well, they look like they're
mm,
legit,
mm.
because they're being
Yeah,
endorsed by this
yeah.
external body. Yeah.
So, guys, go to the website. Yoga and Pilates, yeah, I'm them. I'm sure they're covered, right? That's covered in there. But you need to have the training and certification that you actually teach that stuff. So, as long as you've got that training, you'll need to upload your certificates wherever you got them from, and get yourself organised to provide that certainty. Also, when you go there, can they get this from your site or your site? You'll get Download the 21 marketing tips for complementary therapists. Who would like that? 21 marketing tips for complementary therapists. You got some of them here from Lawrence.
Yeah.
Right? But
Yeah.
there's 20. Is that from your site or IICT site? Can they get that from the IICT as well?
Yeah, IICT has
Okay.
that.
All right.
Or whatever. Yeah. So,
Or if you want to know more about Lawrence, can you put Lawrence's website in there, Patricia, too? Let's give Lawrence a site so you can go see all these wonderful profile pictures and everything else. And links to his books in Amazon and everything else, that's all there. Links to the articles that I showed you in Forbes magazine and everything else, they're all there. So it'll be great to go and do your research. Do your due diligence, guys. That's the important thing. You know, I find when you do it, you'll realize why IICT, for us as a global thing, is our preferred provider, because it's totally independent. It's not an association I created and telling everyone this is the global association for all coaches. Well, who runs it? Right? Okay. Where's the money going that you're paying? And what are you providing? Right? And they say you don't need insurance. Well, you don't even need to be certified. If you don't need to be certified, why don't you be part of an association? Would you send your daughter to a non-certified neurosurgeon? The same people that once talked about you don't need certificates, create an association to actually... So what's the intention behind that? So what I love about longevity is the key, guys. Lawrence has been here in this field 3 decades, 22 years just with IICT. And it's continuing to grow, and we'll continue to be working with them. And I think we're going to have to get you to come back and talk more, Lawrence. Would you come back?
Yeah,
Guys,
absolutely.
do you want Lawrence to come back? Just put in the chat, yes, yes, yes. What would you like to hear from Lawrence? Because he's got so much he can share with what he spoke about today. He got lots of yeses there. All right. What are the things that you'd like to hear more of? What are the things that you feel from his experience could help you grow as a person? Just put something in the chat. Let's see. What are some of the things? There's lots of yeses there, Lawrence. We're going to have to chat and bring you back. Look at your calendar.
Happy to do a round 2. Yeah.
And just put in the chat what topics, guys. Anything you heard today that you want to learn more of? Because today was more like a broad surface of things. We can take a deep dive in things if it's important to you. Just let us know. Time and task audit. That was huge, saying Phoenix. All right.
Yeah, I've got a good book recommendation on that too. The book's called Buy Back Your Time. I don't get anything for recommending that book, but it's a great book. It shows you some very straightforward tips to optimize your time management and also how to, essentially clone yourself in a non-weird scientific way, in a way that's going to help you get more leverage and be able to offer more value. So
George is saying tips and tools for the practitioner in the behind the scenes of coaching. So what happens behind the scenes? Like, in other words, working on yourself and the other things that you need to put in place that you can share. All right. Okay. Well, I'm sure we can organize some shared challenges that he has faced. So we want to hear the dark night of the soul, Lawrence.
I feel like I've made every possible mistake you can make in 30 years. So I have lots of experience informed by strategy.
So as a leader, what do you want to see your practitioners do, achieve, etc.? What does IICT practice success look like?
So what we would like to see our members achieve, is that the gist of that? Or
So maybe talk more about that. Spirituality, awareness, and heart connection, please. I would like to see a form that needs to be filled in to create a list of necessary qualifications, saying, Edith, well, we can get you a form if you need a form. Power in proximity, saying, Kate, love hearing the journey.
Yep.
Lawrence, thank you so much for being here today. I know we kept you probably 2 extra segments past the 15 every 15 minutes. So you must have had this for a buffer, right? Couple of buffers. I want to thank you so much for making your time being part of the community. Everyone else here, on behalf of everyone that turned up, thank you guys for turning up. Let's give Lawrence a huge round of applause. Oh, where's my applause? Come on. And if you're interested in his books, go to his website. We had a link in there again. Put it in again, Patricia, because it's all gone now with all the messages.
It's LawrenceEllyard.com.
LawrenceEllyard.com. Go to his website to find out more about him. MyIICT.com is the association. And we'll organise to get him come back. And we'll let you guys know. And we'll promote it again even more. We'll even might get more people coming through in this live event. We'll make this link available. So this recording we'll make available, obviously, to you guys in our community, but we'll also put up on a YouTube so anyone can see that. So once we get that organised, we'll let you know. We'll also give you the link as well, Lawrence, and we can just let people know about that. Lawrence, thank you so much.
Yeah,
Appreciate you being here. Appreciate everyone else being in this room. Let's say goodbye to everyone. We'll see everyone again very soon.